Okay, there we go.
All right. Hello, my name is Matthew Fries, and this is my informative speech. Handlebar mustaches, cowboys, saloons, gunfights. These are some of the things that come to mind when you think of the American Wild West. Today, I'm going to speak to you about the gunfight at the OK Corral, which is regarded by many historians as the most famous gunfight in the history of the Wild West. Slide. So first, I'm going to tell you about the town in which it took place, then the people who were involved, the two sides, the lawmen and the cowboys, and then finally I'll tell you about the gunfight as it took place and what happened afterwards. Next slide. All right, so the town it took place in was Tombstone, Arizona, back when Arizona was a territory. Tombstone was founded in March 1879, and it was a mining boom town in Arizona Territory on the Mexican border. And in this time period of American history, people were moving out west to either start new lives or, make a lot of money in the mining, or there's a gold. This was after the gold rush in California also, and so, or people were just looking for adventure. And so Tombstone was just your stereotypical western town, boom town. Next slide. Okay, now I'm going to speak to you about the lawman, who was one of the sides of the gunfights. The lawmen included the Earp brothers, which were Wyatt, Virgil, and Morgan Earp, and Wyatt's best friend, Doc Holliday. So, next slide. Wyatt Earp was a police officer in Dodge City, Kansas. That's where he got famous for just his ability to get things done and to stop the lawlessness in Dodge City, Kansas. And also was known for his gunfighting. He retired and he wanted to get rich with his brother, so he moved down west with his brothers and Doc Holliday. Next slide. His brother was Virgil Earp, who was a Civil War veteran, and along with his two brothers, Wyatt and next Morgan, they're going to eventually become U.S. Marshals for the Arizona Territory. Next slide. Morgan Earp was the youngest of the three brothers. He didn't really have too much background in gunfighting. He's probably pretty inexperienced, but he didn't really expect to really have gunfights. So, next slide. Doc Holliday was a longtime friend of Wyatt Earp, and he was known for his gambling, his drinking, and smoking. He actually was battling tuberculosis for most of his life. And during this time period, he had tuberculosis, and it was getting more and more, troublesome for him. And he just came down to the west to meet his friend Wyatt and just strike it rich. Next slide. Now I'm going to speak to you about the Cowboys, which it's one of the earliest examples of organized crime in the United States. The Cowboys, there was a lot of them. They were very forceful. They did what they want. There was really no law that could stop them from either killing, taking what they want, robbing banks. So the Cowboys were this huge gang, and they wore red sashes to show their affiliation with the gang. Next slide. But the four members involved in the gunfight were Billy Clayton, whose father owned this really wealthy ranch in the Arizona Territory. And so, since his father was a wealthy ranch owner, he was able to, pay the judges to let his sons off. So, if his sons were getting in trouble, getting arrested, the judges would just let them free and let them, continue their lawlessness. And they just say there wasn't enough evidence to persecute the Claytons. Next slide. Also, we have Ike Clayton, who was a drunkard. He really caused them a lot of trouble in Tombstone in the Arizona Territory. And eventually, which I'll explain later, he was arrested by Virgil Earp, which started the gunfight. Next slide. We also have the McClurry brothers, which is the first one is Tom McClurry, which just another ranch owner and a member of the Cowboy who died in this gunfight. Next. They weren't really known for their violence, the McClurry brothers. Next slide. Then we have Frank McClurry, who also wasn't really known for his violence. He was the older of the two. Next slide. So now I'm going to speak to you about the gunfight. So the day before the gunfight, we have Ike Clayton at a bar, just drinking, causing trouble, and he threatened Virgil, who just became the sheriff. The Earp brothers just became, marshals and sheriffs in Tombstone because of the lawlessness. They couldn't just take the lawlessness anymore. And so you have Ike Clayton threatening and then getting arrested by Virgil. And the next day, the day of the gunfight, October 25th, 1881, Ike Clayton left the jail cell and threatened to come back, and they did, with the McClory brothers and his brother Billy. And so they met at the OK Corral, which is where you water horses back in the days when you had horses. And they had it out. It lasted 30 seconds. 3 men died, the 2 McClory brothers and Billy Clayton. And yeah, it was known as one of the most intense, most infamous gunfights in the history of the American West. So I have a little video of the movie, from the movie Tombstone, which is about the Earp brothers moving to Tombstone, Arizona. That guy right there, that is Wyatt Earp. Over there was Doc, that's Virgil. And the fourth one's Morgan. And what you have in this scene is the Cowboys, Billy, Ike, Tom, and Frank. They went to the OK Corral with their guns, which was illegal at the time. These people aren't really important for this speech. On the left, that's Ike Clayton, who caused this fight to occur. You can see the horses around. That's what a corral is. They water their horses, take care of horses. I guess this is your stereotypical Western gun scene. You just stare down. And then Doc Holliday was known to be for being very cocky and confident, but he can back it up with his gunslinging. And when you see in this video, he starts the altercation by winking. I don't know if you saw that. This movie, Tombstone, is known for being pretty historically accurate, especially in this scenario. So McClory brothers and Billy Clayton, all 3 of them died. And Ike Clayton, as you can see, gets away. All right, you can stop for that. Excuse me. All right, I just want to talk to you about the aftermath. So Ike Clayton, he runs away and gets the Cowboys gang to retaliate. Ends up killing Morgan Earp and wounding Virgil. And then Wyatt Earp ends up taking revenge and taking out the entire Cowboy gang. So to review, I spoke to you about the town, Tombstone, in which the fight took place. The people involved, the lawmen, the Earp brothers, Wyatt, Virgil, and Morgan, and also Doc Holliday. and then the Cowboys, the Clayton brothers, and the McClory brothers. And then I spoke to you about the gunfight, and I showed you a video, and I hope you all enjoy it, and thank you for listening.